Oh my God. Benny Boy is so woke. Guys, how could the leopards eat my face? I never thought the leopards would eat my face. That's crazy, said Ben Shapiro. Woke is back, baby. Woke is back, baby. Does anyone have the Jake Tapper, Ben Shapiro conversation that took place where Jake Tapper's like thanking Ben Shapiro for his bravery? Yeah, Ben Shapiro is basically just Robin DiAngelo from 2020 running to CNN to denounce his political opponents like Tucker Carlson as racist and bigots for not loving Israel as much as he does. Jake Tapper, Ben Shapiro, we thank you for your voice. Thank you so much.
Really screwed things up last week when he decided to inject himself into this controversy with his vociferous defense that contained some rather charged language. I think he's doing the right thing by pointing out the obvious, which is that if somebody glosses Nazis on the air, that person probably should not be associated with a conservative think tank, and that everyone should have a duty to say that that is a bad thing to do. So I'm grateful to Kevin for doing that. I think it's a very good thing that he did that. The real issue here is I think that Tucker Carlson's morphing from, I would say, a very edgy right-wing political figure on Fox News, but certainly within the mainstream, into a conspiracist, a person who ideologically launders anti-Semitism, who ideologically launders all sorts of anti-American.
Damn, bro. Yo, he is so woke. Dude, what happened? There's no such thing as systemic racism. Black people are actually simply just violent, and therefore we need the police to beat them up. Excuse me. There's no such thing as systemic racism.
The idea of institutional racism, that a bunch of white people are sitting behind the scenes and deliberately attempting to harm black people. Right? If you're making that argument, you're an idiot.
Immigrants are lower than dirt. They need to be purged out of the country. Stop with this woke nonsense. Feminism is a cancerous ideology. Jews are under attack. Jews are under attack. You need to be woke. You need to be woke now against Jewish people. Please. Why aren't you being woke against the Jews? What's going on? I'm woke now. Hello, I'm Ben Shapiro. I'm Mr. Woke. What the did you think was going to happen, you bitch? You dumb bitch. You are so stupid. Woke is back, I guess. Meanwhile, he's not even woke because, like, he also still is defending Israel's genocide, of course. That is the secondary hypocrisy in this conversation. That is an insta-lock for any human being with a conscience. When you hear someone who is pro-genocide talk about, well, you know, all Jews love Israel and Israel's not doing a genocide, even though everyone knows it is, right? And you try to cynically still try to do this like anti-Semitism is unacceptable. All you're doing is make people go, okay, I guess we're anti-Semites now.
Nick Fuentes has been fairly notorious for years now, including when he dined with President Trump at Mar-a-Lago.
I mean, I think that's true, but I think that really in order to experience the full wonders of the Nick Fuentes catalog, you really do have to spend some time going through the receipts. I did that earlier this week on my show. And the truth is that most people don't watch politics all that granularly. Even people who are in politics don't spend a lot of time on sort of the fringe edgelord right, the way that Fuentes is. And so the sort of mainstreaming, the popularization and normalization of Fuentes by Carlson is significantly more important than just Fuentes' existence, obviously. It was a seminal moment, I think, when it comes to the right's decision as to whether Tucker himself is a source of truth or whether he is a destructive force inside conservatism.
So one of the things you've noted is that it isn't so much, your problem isn't so much that Tucker Carlson had Fuentes on his show, but that he didn't push back at all on the neo-Nazi, anti-Semitic, pro-Joseph Stalin.
Dude, I love when they slam the pro-Joseph Stalin thing in there. Like, come on, man. Come on, man. Be serious. If you're going to talk about anti-Semitism, just talk about anti-Semitism, big dog. You're so stupid. That's so dumb. God, they're so stupid.
Last week at a Turning Point event, Vice President J.D. Vance was asked by a student about an anti-Semitic falsehood, this crazy notion that Judaism openly supports the persecution of Christians. It's not true. But J.D. Vance was asked about it. Instead of pushing back or correcting the questioner, he said this.
There are some significant theological disagreements between Christians and Jews. My attitude is, let's have those conversations. Let's have those disagreements when we have them. But if there are shared areas of interest, we ought to be willing to do that too.
What did you think of that?
You know, obviously in a vacuum, I think that answer is fine. I think his response to the question, which was asked, as you say, in a tremendously anti-Semitic way, the idea that Jews are persecutors of Christians is an absurd contention. Obviously, I would have preferred more from the vice president, but I think the broader problem here is, again, that you have an enormous number of young people who are engaging with true white supremacist, anti-Jew content and are taken in by it, and there do need to be more voices pushing back on that.
God, such a ridiculous situation that we're in. Imagine if Shapiro actually become woke. What would that even look or sound like? I mean, he's already halfway there, brother. He might as well just lean into it. I'm sure the liberals would love to have him. Oh my God, the liberals would love to have him. I mean, he got no motion anyway. He might as well pivot. He has no motion on the Republican side because of the Israel stuff. I told you this months ago. He has lost his sauce. Daily Wire fell off due to mismanagement, but also because of their unconditionally pro-Israel position. I don't think Ben will do a liberal grift because he is so firmly invested in being a right winger. Like, I think he is who he says he is. Like, he does actually hate all of these different marginalized communities. That, yeah, Zaid Jilani had a good take on this. He seems more incompetent than the woke people he's emulating, though. He fired Candace Owens, and she seems to be bigger than ever. He tried to smother Fuentes when he was still a college student, and he now has 5 million plus subscribers on his social platforms. I say this as someone who doesn't particularly care for those three. It would be cool if all of them had less influence in media. Did they ever have sauce? A limp rat could have sauce if he's getting $40 grillion on the Koch brothers? I mean, they did. There was a point where they had sauce. There was a point where they had some sauce, at least. They were not the sauce boss necessarily, but they had some sauce. Normies were watching. Ben was able to convert some people, maybe even people in this chat at a certain point watched Ben Shapiro own SJWs and found themselves in the throws of right-wing reactionary pipelines, Zionist SJWs, Ben Shapiro and Jake Tapper share a cry over Tucker Carlson interviewing Nick Fuentes, as well as J.D. Vance not doing enough to condemn anti-Semitism on the right. The idea that Jews are persecuted as Christians is absurd, contentious, Shapiro insists. I think the broader problem here is, again, that you have an enormous number of young people who are engaging with true white supremacist anti-Jewish content and are taken in by it. Oh, white supremacy is bad. Oh, what? Ben doesn't like white supremacy, guys. That's crazy. He's woke now. He's woke. 1.5 thousand years of Christian anti-Semitism cannot be whitewashed in 60 years. Yeah, it was just so stupid. It was such a dumbass attitude. I identified back in 2019 that while the white evangelical base of Trump's support was very supportive of Israel, it had many other strong beliefs that made it far more central to the MAGA movement, and these had to do with domestic issues. Israel is not central to maintaining the coalition. White Christian ethno-nationalism is. There's an argument that dropping Israel stuff would actually offer the coalition an opportunity to expand. The strategy of trying to piggyback on this movement, as the Zionist right has sought to do, relied on the tiredness of Judeo-Christian civilization and other forms of common enemyism against radical Islam. But anyone who knows anything about the history of the Crusades could have probably told you it wasn't exactly good for the Jews and that this probably wasn't going to work out. Yup. There is a values-based pathway to an American society that protects minority rights for all peoples, and it certainly isn't on the right. But all peoples includes Palestinians, no more exceptions. Jews are nowhere near losing white status. Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be the same. Here's how I think this is going to play out. Are you ready for this? Donald Trump is not going to stop being pro-Israel. Okay? He's not. He knows where his bread is buttered. This will cause more and more of a fissure for opportunists like Nick Fuentes to greatly slam himself into the conversation by being like, I'm a real one. He's fake. He's still pro-Israel. He still loves Israel. He is in love with Jews. His daughter converted to Judaism. He's fake. This will deepen the fissure in the right and will grow Nick Fuentes' profile until ultimately the Republicans will have to make a decision on whether or not they will continue being attached to Israel by the hip or trying to find a different way to consolidate the base. And I think the way that they'll try and consolidate the base is by making the argument that, Jews are fighting the Muslims. Like, yeah, sure, we don't trust them. They're money people and we don't like them. They control the banks and stuff. They control the media and, they're bad. But like also Seinfeld was fun. But Muslims don't do anything good. They don't produce anything good, right? And they'll just keep hammering that point over and over again. And if they can actually get Nick Fuentes on board with the movement without offending the sensibilities of a lot of conservative Jewish donors, they can possibly find a new way to continue being pro-Israel while also being anti-Semitic, okay? Because Nick Fuentes is, to a certain degree, a grifter, right? He has gone back and forth on whether he likes Trump or doesn't like Trump at times to boost his profile. He has closely associated himself with Trump and the movement to boost his profile, and then at times they shit on Donald Trump to once again boost his, profile as like a real one, a real Republican, a real America First Christian nationalist, white supremacist conservative. So if the Republicans are smart, they'll just buy him out and be like, all right, cut it with this like Jew okay? Or just like dial it back a little bit for the time being and just keep pumping the Islamophobia stuff. That's what they'll do.